What is up, guys and gals? Welcome back to the Nerd Castle for the next episode of Weekly Indie Newcomer, the weekend series where you and I hang out for a little while to take a look at a game that has bouncing around my brain over the course of the last week or two. This week we're taking a look at the newest Screwfly offering, Fear Equation. Now, I know people here at the Nerd Castle are big fans of Screwfly. That's because I'm a big fan of Screwfly. Not necessarily you like them because I like them, but because of the type of content that I do, and I think that Screwfly makes really, really cool games. Well, they've got a new game out. If you don't know who Screwfly is, they did Safe House Diaries, which I was sort of lukewarm on, and then they did Dead Knot, which I was absolutely in love with. Fear Equation sort of combines the two. It's less interactive than Dead Knot, but it's more interactive than Safe House Diaries. It essentially takes place on a train. The world has been taken over by a fog that makes your nightmares come to life, and you are the engineer of a train that is immune to the fog so long as you can keep it powered. And the goal of the game is to move from the left side of the map to the right side of the map while managing all the little relationships in between the people riding in your car, and then also scavenging and trying to prepare for the nightmares that come at night. Go figure. They're not called daymares, they're called nightmares. Although I have had a nightmare during a daytime nap, and so I guess that would technically be a daymare. Since the sun was out, it'd be tough to call it a nightmare. Either way, Fear Equation is available on Steam. If after watching this you wanted to pick it up, I'll have the link for you down below. I like it, so let's continue. Fear Equation. This is going to be a little bit lengthy. I might allow this to go a little bit long for a Weekly Indie Newcomer, just because it's difficult for this game to get moving. There's a lot to this game, and it's going to be really, really, really intimidating for somebody that plays it for the first time. A lot in the way that Dead Knot was. It's just the HUD and the UI are supposed to be very, very immersive. And I've always found that immersion and also complication weirdly seem to go together when it comes to HUDs. So let's continue. Come on, ride the train. Come right in. Come on, ride the train. We got it's the choo-choo train. Woo woo. All right, so we start out in our train car. Now, there's a lot of things you need to know, but actually this game kind of bombards you with information that you don't really need. I did the tutorial, and by the end of the tutorial, I was so overwhelmed and so confused with everything that I decided just to... Normally what I do is I play the game without the tutorial, and then when I get confused, I go back and I play the tutorial for the little scraps of information that I didn't know. This game was the opposite. I played the tutorial and was hopelessly confused, and then I just started playing the game, and I failed a couple of games in a row. And after you kind of figure out where all the things you can push are, all the buttons and things that you can play around with, it's not actually so bad. This is one of those games that I learned a little bit better just by playing it instead of staring at the help manual. However, if you want help manuals, they're all over the place, and this game has lots and lots of reference materials in case you get confused. There's an operator's manual. There's a book next to every single console that tells you what it does. They did a good job with it. They really did. So in our bedroom, there's not really much of interest right here. We've got our bed. We've got our operator's manual, we've got our engineer's card because we're on normal, and then we've got our empty train. These are actually, I think they're gameplay startup shenanigans or something like that. I think later on you're going to be able to decide on starting conditions before you play the game, but for right now you just start with nobody and you pick people up. So how do you pick people up? Well, you do it with a nice line and a nice cold drink at the bar. Nope. There's a couple of consoles, so I'm going to go through and explain what all this stuff does before we start playing. So we did our bedroom. This console over here is where you will manage the train cars where people are taking refuge from their nightmares. You are inside this place. It's sealed so that nothing can get in so that the nightmares can't affect you. It raises the question why we didn't seal all the other carriages in the same way. I don't think we need food or anything like that, but you know what? We're not going to question that. Next to every single location, there's going to be a pneumo. This pneumo allows you to send and receive messages to the other cars because you're sealed inside the engineer's compartment in order to keep the nightmares out. So every time you send a message, it'll go through this tube or this tube, and every time they send a message to you, let's say your people are out, let's start over here. Let's say you give an order to one of the carriages, they'll send you back a pneumo later on once they've taken care of that order. So it'll go zoom, ding, 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 and it'll land right here. It'll look like one of those. You click on it, and it'll have the message inside of it. Kind of cool stuff. This over here is very, very simple. It's just a selection of controls for each of the train cars. It's got the state, the order, the amount of power going to the train car, and the amount of armor the train car has left, how many passengers it has in it, and how many cargo slots it has remaining. These things will all light up in just a moment. Everything you do with your passengers is going to be through this menu right here. This menu over here, this little computer that you're going to interact with, the DN75, this is your mission computer. So every now and again you're off to send passengers out of the train to go scavenge in the fog. This is where you will orchestrate the missions from, a la Dead Knot. You know the central console on Dead Knot where you would actually command your Dead Knots around with? That's what this is right here. Exact same thing. There's lots of other stuff you can do with it, but it's not important for right now, just for showing off the game. It's not a big deal. There's smaller, more nuanced stuff in each of these consoles, but it won't matter during the 30 minutes in this playthrough. Down at this end of the train, you've got all of the train controls. Seeing as you are the engineer, you should probably know how to drive this great iron dragon. We've got the throttle, which is how fast the train goes. We've got the brake, which you pop when you're trying to stop. We've got a couple of that's the clock that tells you what time it is. There's the date. You can accelerate and slow down time. The amount of fog that's around, the higher the fog, the more dangerous it is to send people outside. The amount of fuel that you have is in this meter right here with the little bubble. And then these other things, I don't know if they do anything. Down here, you've got the map. The goal of the game is to go from the left-hand side to the right-hand side along the train line without dying. It can be very, very difficult. This is not one of those games that you should expect to win. You should view this game as a story. You are probably not going to win. You are watching the tale of how a bunch of people in a train made one last desperate gambit to try and get to the end of the level without dying. That's pretty much it. You're probably going to die normally around like here somewhere. Like, essentially, if you take a look at the lines, there are other factions that walk around on the lines, and if you run into them like at the wrong time, it can be bad. So it's a tough game. It's a very, very difficult game, actually. I've got about 3 hours in now. I've played 3 or 4 campaigns. And it's pretty inevitable that something goes wrong. You're either dealing with a lack of knowledge and know-how, so your passengers don't have very good skills, or you're dealing with just a bad map configuration. A lot of the times there's something that's going to be challenging, but when starting the game out, all we got to do is launch a beacon. That's it, because we have no people inside our train, so we're not keeping anybody alive. So let's launch the beacon so we can get our starting survivors. All right. This will take a couple of minutes, and we should get a pneumo through here once it has been successful. I'm going to try and treat this as a little bit of a tutorial too, so it'll be helpful to more people. And so, bing, there it is. We got our pneumo. Mission debrief. The beacon has attracted 5 survivors. Nancy Barnes, Stephanie Murphy, Harold Williams, Betty Lewis, and Jimmy Williams. I'm going to assume that Harold and Jimmy are brothers. Supplies that they brought with them were taken to Carriage 1, and we got 1 food container. That's not so bueno. I was hoping we get a little bit more out. Alright. You press escape to get out of any console. And then you can control your guy a number of ways with WASD to look around and walk around. Or you can just use the mouse. I find the mouse a little bit easier to use. If you right click, it'll turn his head in whatever direction you want to go. And if you left click, it'll interact with objects. So as you can see, this is now lit up, which makes your life a little bit easier. We've got 5 passengers. We've got what looks like 9 cargoes. Their state is now lit up. That's actually whether they're a supporter of you, whether they're neutral, or whether they want to kill you. There can be rebellions in the train cars if you run the train improperly. They also will subdivide themselves into political parties and stuff like that. It's mostly hands-off. Like, a lot of the stuff that happens inside of the train cars, you don't really have any direct control over. And so you kind of just want to roll with it and do the best you can. If you play the game well and you look after their needs a la Tropico, like, they tell you what you want. All you got to do is go to the notebook right here. And this notebook has all the information you will ever need. Now, there's upgrades to the train that we can make right here. Not going to be important. Let's go. Each of these tabs represents a train car. So I'm going to do train 1. And as you'll see, these are the political factions right here. I don't know the symbols specifically. Just know that if they're in a different slice of the pie, it means they're a different part of the political spectrum. The political spectrums are as follows. They're divided into 2 categories. People that think the fog is supernatural. Yes, the political parties are divided up by what you think about the fog. All things considered, politics are based on a lot of factors, and it kind of makes sense, in all honesty. People latch onto weird stuff to politically rally around, and it doesn't surprise me that fog was the catalyst in this game. So there's 2 different things to think about the fog. You can think that it's natural, or you can think that it's supernatural. And then you can think of it as an opportunity, or you can think of it as a punishment. So this quarter right, I might have these 2 backwards. I do wish, one thing, if the developers ever see this, if you could just add little tooltips that pop up when you mouse over things, that'd be the best. There are so many times in this game, like, it does it for some stuff, but there were so many times in this game that I just wish little things would have pop-ups on them. The stuff that you would expect to does, but there's little ease of living stuff that I wish had pop-ups. So anyways, some people think that it's a natural phenomenon and that it's a punishment. Some people think it's natural and that we can use it. Some people think it's supernatural and we can use it. Some people think that it's supernatural and it's a punishment. And so they're going to divide themselves up. Train skills are as follows. You've got negotiators, you've got medics. That's bad. We've got way too many medics. We have a lot of medics. Holy shit. You've got train upgraders, you've got repair guys, and then you've got defense builders, are basically the slices of the pie. That's their skill sets. And then with the mission skills, when you send them out to scavenge, we've actually got good mission skills. So we've got people, we got nobody that's good at doing B&E, so we got no burglars. We got 1 guard. We've got 2 people that are good at carrying stuff, the Williams brothers. And then we've also got 2 people that are okay at searching. The bigger the bubble, the better they are at it. So they've got vague skills at it, but they're not like amazing. But at least they've got some skills. Go back to the factions menu real fast. At the end of the first day, they're going to elect a leader for their car. They'll name their faction, and then from there on in, you're going to start giving them orders through the Pneumo. The first thing that you need to do is the game is divided up into 4 phases. So from here, we've got our passengers, everything's good. To make you aware of the buttons and what they do, you can click these little power things right here if you wanted to raise or lower the power to a car. The reason why I didn't notice that for super long, so I figured I'd bring it up. The reason you might want to do that is if you have a lot of electrical defenses for nightmares inside one of your cars, it might need more electricity. And so you might be like, boom, 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 and you just turn it up before they go to bed at night. So hopefully they'll be defended. You can also do it through here. These little, like, I guess it's a, I don't even know what to call that thing, little console control, I guess. You can actually use a preset here if you want to. You can go with low, medium, high, or off. Off should more than likely never be used. If you turn the carriage off, it means it's no longer protected from the fog. And then monsters will carry off your guys into the darkness while you're trying to get the lights back on. So don't do that. That's pretty much all we have going on right now. The first couple days are going to be pretty uneventful. So my opinion, the first thing you should do is plot a course. Each of these things will light up on the map if you can interact with them. We're going to go to Fitzgerald. And so known locations in Fitzgerald, there's a pub, there's a library, and there's a chemist. It's not very far away. We select a general speed. The faster you get there, the more fuel it uses, but the more efficient you are at getting across the map so that you get a better score. And I think it also affects how well the fog follows you. We're going to start out with fast, since there's no difference between the 3 settings right now because it's so close. It says we'll get there on the 23rd of January, which is actually today. So we'll plot the route fast. You'll see we're going to get there. You can actually use the throttle if you want all by yourself. There's fast, medium, and slow. And you can do this all by hand if you're really into the immersion. I tend to use the presets just because it's easier to manage. And I find that when I'm fiddling around with the handles and whatnot, oh look, we're moving right now through the fog. When I fiddle around with the handles and stuff, I forget what speed I'm at, and I just tend to be addle-brained and, you know, if I can simplify the process, I should. So the game is divided up after you've done these things. The game is divided up into 4 phases. Lottery. The lottery phase is where you're going to select who's going to go outside the train if you end up at a location today. It's done randomly. You can also rig the lottery if you want. Rigging the lottery is useful in limited situations, but most of the time in the early game, rigging the lottery is not going to matter. The times where you would want to rig the lottery, let's say that, so they become, let's say you send people out, like you've got passengers in like a bunch of different cars, and you do a lottery and it grabs one person from here, one person from here, one person from here, one person from here, yada, yada, yada. So you've got 5 different people in your scavenging groups of 5 different political parties from 5 different carriages. They're going to have their differences in the field, and it's not going to work so great. In addition, any loot they find, they're going to squabble over whose car gets it, and any survivors they find, they're going to squabble over whose car they move into. So, that being said, sometimes you want to rig the lottery so that all people of the same political party will go out, or maybe people with certain scavenger skills will go out. There's reasons to do it. I don't do it very often just because it seems to be risky. You shouldn't have to most of the time, but sometimes you're going to have to. I guess the best way I can. It's very situational. For right now, you press the tab key in order to advance. So let's select our lottery because later today we are going to be scavenging. We click on this little note right here. And you can click autofill if you want it to be a true lottery. Because we only have 5 people and there's 5 slots in the lottery. Guess what? It's already a little bit rigged. So there it goes. You will hear the sound of us sending off our Pneumos so that they know what our order is. And so now we are in the orders phase. During the first orders phase, what you want to do, you want to take a look at dream logs first. Everybody writes their dreams on a log. I don't know. We have a huge wood supply. Don't ask me. So Stephanie Murphy, I remember hanging out with old friends, people around me, stepping over shadows. I came too close to a shadow and my arm was gone. Headlights were shining. The shadows were gone. Nancy Barnes, I was doing the laundry and something was behind me, drooling. They put something up my nose. I'm no longer me. They need to sleep. We need to hide them. So she's afraid of... Not really sure. Maybe the disturbed? Stephanie Murphy, I wasn't alone and we were at a supermarket. I think somebody's whistling. He's selling something. We have to give him something. I tricked him and gave him a box with nothing in it. The salesman, okay. I was helping someone, my sister. There was something in front of me but empty. I knew if it got me, I would never come back. A flashlight into the corners. We were safe. So she's afraid of the shadows. Anything they dream about has a chance of manifesting once nighttime comes. And so you need to read the dream journal in order to figure out what defenses you need to build in order to keep the car safe. Nancy Barnes, I was washing the dishes. I saw an ice pick in the shadows. Broken restraints hacking into me. Tie them down. It's the only way. It's probably the disturbed that she's worried about then. So this is actually a little bit troublesome. So we've got shadows, the disturbed, and the salesman are the three things that they're afraid of in their nightmares. So far, I think I've seen 10 or 12 different enemies. It's kind of like Dead Knot in the same way that you never know quite what you're going to get from any playthrough. I've had zombies. I've had flooding. I've had everything and anything in between. Voodoo, natural disasters, zombies, the occult. And there's a lot of variety here of random things that can go wrong. And so anyways, we should probably build some limited defenses for each thing. Looks like 2 people were worried about disturbed, 2 people were worried about shadows, and 1 person was worried about the salesman. These will change over time as more people join the car, and they will offset the distribution of nightmares. For right now, though, we got to get on this. So we want to go to our Build Defenses tab down here in the bottom right-hand corner. You can only use these tabs during the work phase. I'm sorry, during the orders phase. We had 2 for the shadows and 1 for the salesman. I'm going to go 2 to shadow. Oh, sorry. You click on each of these. So there's different types of materials. They each allow you to build a different type of defense. So you've got scrap, that's for basic defenses. You've got materials, that's for moderate defenses. You've got machine parts, they increase fuel consumption, but they're really badass defenses. You've got electronics, exact same thing, but it increases the power drain. And then you've got chemical weapons, which are pretty awesome. You should probably use those a lot. Oh, they cause structural damage. I never realized that. So these 2 are largely the ones that you want to get, but sometimes you end up with just ridiculous amounts of these 3, and you're going to have to do what you got to do. I'm going to build 2 defenses for shadows and 1 defense for the disturbed, and we're just going to hope that we don't get the salesman. Give the build order. If you wanted to build in another car, you would just click on it, but since we don't have any other cars, it doesn't matter. You will see that the scrap that was in our cargo is now being converted into defenses. They may have trouble getting the defenses up and running because their train skills are kind of shitty, so it could kind of go in any direction. But the order's out. We got to do what we got to do. Hopefully we'll pick up people who are better at their job. Now that the orders have been given, my suggestion would be to move to the work phase by pressing the tab key. During the work phase, that's when you're going to scavenge, or it's just an extended period where these guys are either going to fix their repair car, they're going to fix and repair their train car, or they're going to do the stuff that you ordered them to do during the last phase. Alright, if there's anybody listening, there are a few survivors still alive at the abattoir at 2-4. At 2-4, it's right there. As you go along, your radio is going to pick up people that are shouting for help. They will give you tertiary objectives that you can go after. It can be risky, or it can just be something that's along the way and not so bad. It's up to you to determine that. You are the engineer. So when you plot a course, you need to be careful about it. Now, the fog is not following us so badly, so we should have a decent opportunity to scavenge when we get to the next location. The final phase is the guard phase. That's when you go to sleep, and that's when you have a chance of getting attacked by whatever you dreamed about. Let's close our eyes, cross our fingers, and hope that we didn't get a nightmare tonight, because this early in the game, it would actually be pretty devastating. Okay, it's the next day. They've formed a political party in support of us, so the little shield means that the car likes us, and they're not going to rebel. Their orders are to work on things. Let's see what they got done. Oh, they did okay. They didn't do too bad. They got 70% of a barred entrance done, and then they got to get some mirrors for the shadows, but aside from that, they've got food and they've got medical supplies, so they should be okay. They got so many medics in there that wounding them is going to be kind of difficult. It looks like their dream journals have not been offset. We will be scavenging today, so we need to set up the lottery. Oh yeah, do you see them move around? When you set up the lottery, you're going to have outsiders and insiders. Now, people that are, you see right here how you have, in train skills, you have negotiators. People who are negotiators are going to try to convince other people to join their political party. And so it's actually a good thing to have negotiators in some cars sometimes, because you don't want a lot of political differences inside of one car. If there's a bunch of people of different political parties in one car, you will end up with like pogroms and purges and all kinds. Seriously, it gets gnarly. You get people that like run up on each other and they have like Knights of the Long Knives and stuff like that, and they just murder each other. I had it happen in my last game. There was a bunch of people, I had 10 people in a car, and some of them were not part of the main political party. They murdered them in their sleep. It was super gnarly. The main political party killed them all while they were sleeping. I was like, damn, son. Y'all are super gangster about politics out here. You playing by them Bolivarian rules. We should almost be at this location. What time is it? It's 6. It's a little after 6:30. Okay. Oh, they killed the throttle. Okay, so let's take the throttle down a little bit. That's gonna... So, when you've reached a location... Are we here? I want to make sure that we're here. Okay, so we are here. If you're at the location, it'll say unavailable right there. The reason I turned down the throttle is something that I didn't notice for a while. The fog level is pretty decently high here. I don't think we're going to have a lot of time to scavenge. As of right now, I feel like the fog levels are too high for most of the game. It's inconvenient. I feel like the fog level should start getting higher when you're about 20% of the way through the map. The first couple scavenges should be freebies, but maybe not. Maybe I could be wrong. I'm not a good game designer. I'm not a game designer at all. The reason you want to turn down the throttle is because you see this label right here that says battery. The throttle, having it turned up, apparently the noise from the train attracts the fog, and so you got to turn the throttle down before you go out and scavenge so that the engine's not making a bunch of noise. So we did our lottery. We're in our orders phase. Orders have already been given, so let's go to the work phase. And so now, this thing over here is going to beep at us because it's time for us to go and scavenge. What I want to do is we're going to turn off the throttle, and you'll note that the battery starts to drain right there. It's not going to give us a ton of time to work with. In fact, that's going down really quickly. Okay, it's not going to be an option. Never mind. I give up. That's going down too fast. Sometimes if you've actually updated your train's power, this will go down slower. And turning off the throttle means you don't attract the fog very fast, so you can scavenge multiple times in one go. It's not going to be possible for right now because the battery's draining too fast. If the battery goes out, bad things happen, so we don't want that to happen. Above all, the battery cannot go out. So we've got locations. We've got a pub. There's a bunch of things you want to be aware of down here, namely accessibility. That's how long the mission's going to take. Time window is how much time you have before the fog kills you. And then high fog levels exist basically in every room, so we're just going to avoid the pub altogether. There's one survivor in the pub, which would be maybe the only reason. The chemist. This is looking like it's probably going to be the place we want to go. We've got 2 survivors. Accessibility is very high, which is good. That means we can get in and we can get out quickly. That means that the time penalty we take for getting inside the building would be lower, and since our window is so small already, we need a little bit more time to work with. The library is moderate. We're going to go with the chemist for right now, and then we'll go with the library second if we have time. After that's done, you want to go down to the equipment menu. This is where you'll decide who's going to wield what when you go on adventures. We don't have any guns or weapons or knives or pipes or anything, so nobody's going to have any of that. They've got everybody's skills right here, so what I like to do is, normally I eyeball who's going to be guarding and who's going to be searching. So, guarding, we only have one person who's really any good at guarding, and that's Murphy. But Murphy's actually pretty good at guarding. If we can get her a weapon, she could really offset some problems for us later on once we start fighting with other groups of humans and survivors. There are ragtag groups. The nightmares in the fog are not the only thing that are after you. There's other factions of people running around with guns and pipes and stuff like that trying to survive, and you can get in altercations with them. So there's not much to plan right here. We just need to mark that Murphy's going to be our guard. And then we go to the planning phase. In the planning phase, you left-click to move this around. You can right-click to look around on your console if you need to. I'm willing to bet we're probably breaching from right here, but we can check that with the radar. Yes, we are. And so there's our guys right there. They're going to gather outside the door, and then they're going to breach. That's a survivor right there. Our train is down here where the radar signal is coming from. So we have a chance to get a survivor if we can set up in the corner of this room. The fog menu. Rooms that are especially bright means there's a lot of fog in there. As of right now, I've played the game for several hours, and I've never seen a room that has, like, no fog in it. You'll notice that this one dims a little bit faster. That means there's less fog in there. So that one has the least fog. That one has less fog than that one, which is actually chock-a-block with fog. So if you're going to search in there, I'd say take a guard with you. Let's go back to the planning menu. Let's get this thing underway. So this is all done kind of in the old ASCII sense where each person in your party is going to be assigned a number from left to right. Sorry, I clicked on the book. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Murphy's our guard. So we're going to set her up. We're going to press 3 for Murphy. And we're going to have 2 orders, search or guard. I'm going to press 2 to have her guard right here so that she's hitting as many rooms as possible. She's going to guard. It's going to take her 27 seconds to get there. We have a 1 minute, 13-second gap. That means that infiltration and exfiltration will take 54 seconds. 54 seconds That's about as perfect as we're going to be able to get it right there. That'll put us 1 second over time, and we just got to hope that people bring stuff back. From here, all we got to do is press 1 and 1 to put Williams on a search of this area, and it'll actually auto-match the amount of time. We'll go 2 and 1. That'll allow us to put Lewis right here. We'll go 4 and 1. That'll allow us to take Barnes and put her right there, and then we'll take Williams and we'll put him right here. And that means they're going to search the hell out of these rooms. Now, this is a bathroom, an office, and a storeroom. That should be fine. There's a compounding area over there, which we would probably get a bunch of chemicals from, but I don't want to cause too much structural damage right now. What is this, a shop floor? Maybe I'll send one person in. You can actually cancel an order by pressing somebody's number, and then you press backspace, and that'll clear their order. Let's send Williams over here. He might get killed. But we're almost at the end of the episode anyways, and I'm not keeping this playthrough, so que sera. It'll take him a bit longer to get there, so I only want him to search for 10 seconds. So you get in there, you grab who you can, and then you go. And when you get everybody set up, you just press start mission. You'll set your priorities. You can do an auto priority, just so you could take a... that's just in case you don't know what you want to bring with you. The game will suggest things. Actually, I find that the game suggestions are wrong a lot of the time, though. But this one actually seems pretty astute. I would take that. That seems alright, so I'll confirm it. And what you'll see is that the dots will now start to move. Now, this part of the game takes too long. I usually just skip it. You can press tab to skip this entirely and just get to the result. I have never watched this take place ever. So it looks like they found a bunch of supplies. So that's good. Betty Lewis has something wrong. Oh, that's our clock. Never mind. We're almost out of time. We found a survivor. Oh, 2 survivors. Okay, good. Hopefully they're the same political party. I really don't want to get political problems this early in the game. They should bring them all back. We're going to be overtime in about 5 seconds. They're exfiltrating right now. If it gets to 0, they don't die, but bad shit starts to happen. Okay, so I sped that up because they're just trying to escape. Let's see how it went. Alright, survived. Everybody survived. Nobody died. The duration was 1:03, so we timed that perfectly. Never forget to account for the fact that it takes them 24 seconds to get there. It takes them 24 seconds to get back. The getting back, the game does not mention that, and so I assume that was included in the travel time. It just says move time in general. It takes them 24 seconds to get there. It takes them 24 seconds to return. So keep that in mind when you're doing your mental arithmetic on how long you want to send people out into the fog. Our next mission window is $1.07, which isn't too bad. They found 15 items. They brought back 9. It was mostly materials and chemicals. And the rescued survivors were all integrated into Carriage 1, so that's good. They were claimed by Harold Williams. Basically, anybody who has... You see how it says claimed by? Every time there's kind of a thing that happens here behind the scenes that you wouldn't know about unless the game didn't mention it in the help files. And so basically, if you have any confusion, check the user guides. These books that are alongside every console, they work. They have all the information you could ever need about the game inside of them for every single menu. And so anyways, there's a little negotiation that takes place every time they bring stuff back to the train and every time they bring people back to the train. They will argue, if there's multiple cars, over who gets the supplies and over who gets the people. This is done mostly by political party when it comes to people, and it's done mostly by who grabbed the item when it comes to the carriage that it goes to. This is really, really fortuitous right here. This is a big deal that these people got to go into the same cart as everybody else, because normally what ends up happening is when you find people, they have political differences, and so they get banished to other cars to be by themselves. And 2 people in another car by themselves can't really accomplish much. It sucks when that happens. Let's see what we got here. So, in terms of people, it looks like politically they're... Oh, that's why. So one of the new guys... Okay, so that's what happened. Technically, one of the new guys should have gone to his own car, but because we have one outlier over here with the political parties, they grabbed him for that. Okay, it makes sense. Did we get any more skill sets? We got another medic and another negotiator. That's unfortunate. That's really, really unfortunate, because what we need is people for this category and this category. That's what we really, really need. Since we don't have that, we'll just have to make do with what we have going on right now. They've built one defense right there. Check your dream logs after this stuff happens. Because look at that, the distribution has changed. Now more people are afraid of the shadows than they are of the disturbed and the salesman. That's not to say you won't get the disturbed or the salesman, but the shadows are more than likely. Eventually, one of these spheres will take over the car because they'll talk about it with each other, and it'll spread. And once that happens, you won't have to worry about these spheres anymore, and you can just focus on this one. And honestly, once you've actually nightmare-proofed a car, you don't have to worry about it much after that. I was fairly surprised that once you accomplish all of the safety stuff for a car, unless something goes catastrophically wrong, you can basically just kind of fire and forget about it. Alright, so we got a little bit of time left now. Let's plot ourselves... Should I go back out again? I don't know if I should go back out and scavenge again. I don't want to go that far down there. I want to go over to here. There we go. I don't know what we would find inside of a library. It's got moderate infiltration time. How long you figure it'll take? Oh my god. So what is our infiltration time here? We're going in from the bottom right-hand corner. Oh, that's going to take forever because I have to go through that door right there. So I bet you anything, it takes, yeah, a minute and a half just to get there. And our mission window's a minute and 7 seconds. So yeah, we're not going to be able to pull that one off safely. If we planted guards, we might be able to make it happen if we were really, really careful about it. But I don't know. I just don't know. Nah, we'll skip it. There are survivors alive at the church at 4-9. Oh, that's right there. So let's go to the church at 4-9. Plot that route. And so now that the route has been plotted, we'll be on the move again. That's going to eliminate our scavenger session. Carriage 1 finished. Barred entrances. That's really good. The way is now barred for the shadows. I don't know how... Are they working on mirrors now? Yeah, work on mirrors because the shadows are going to come at night. And the shadows come at night. Something, something, and forever. I've been watching a lot of Les Miserables lately. I don't know. Isn't it Demons Come at Night? I don't remember the lyrics. It's been too long. I just watched it 3 days ago. Alright, no nightmare. That's good. I want to show you guys. How long is this going to take? The 25th of January. Oh, we're going to get there today? Okay, cool. I'm okay with this. Sounds great. Let's go ahead and do our lottery then. Got a bunch of searchers. That's perfectly cool. That actually swung Garcia over towards their political party. That's a good thing because right now it looks like they got a racist distribution too. We got like all the Hispanic people over here. They put them in their own little area. That's not what it is. It's political, but still, it's funny when stuff lines up like that. Just like as a coincidence. So there's our scavenging group. We're going to want to go ahead and wait. They have their orders, so let's keep this thing trucking. Oh, we didn't arrive yet? Okay, maybe we're arriving tomorrow. My bad. They finished mirrors. Good, that's fantastic, because the shadows will probably attack us tonight. Wow, this is like the luckiest playthrough ever. The shadows didn't attack us. We're on like day 4. We still haven't taken an attack yet. This is the best. The best thing ever. All right, let's do our lottery. Oh, look, they got everybody into the same political party. That's why you want to have negotiators. The train skills, the people that are negotiators, yep, that's why you want them, because now we don't have to worry about these people all killing each other. They're all on the same team. And that means that when things attack the train, they should also work in cohesion pretty well. Let's set up a lottery. That also means they won't be angry about working with each other when you send them out. Although it looks like there is some scatter there. There are some people that are kind of on the line. They're not completely and totally in alignment with everybody else yet. Let's go ahead, and I want to build an upgrade to power if we can. We're going to add that as an order. You should only give a couple orders a day. If you give more than a few orders, like 1 to 2 orders to a car during the day, they start to get grumpy with you. I tend to keep it to 3 orders a day, and it seems to have worked out fantastically so far. I can't tell you that's the perfect way to do it, but that's the way that I do it. What is our... So we got a church here. We've got 1 minute and 13 seconds to hit the location. No equipment. We still have Murphy as a guard, so that's good. Infiltration is going to take place. Oh man, this place is not accessible at all. Got a classroom. The classroom's the safest. We should scavenge that, especially considering we're definitely going to go overtime. So Murphy, you're on guard duty just in case anything goes wrong. Infiltration's going to take way too long in here, so this might be catastrophic, but I'm going to give it a go anyways. I'm going to set up 2 guards just in case. We actually have pretty good supplies right now, so I'm not going to freak out about it. Best case scenario is they're probably just going to bring back scrap or materials. This mission's going to be risky. Let's do it. Off they go. I'm actually going to skip straight through because you have no control over this. This is actually, I wish you had control of them while you were scavenging a la Dead Knot, but it doesn't seem to work like that. You kind of just got to let them do their thing. We're almost out of time already, and they're not even inside yet. Well, it looks like they all made it, I think. Yeah, nobody died, so we did pretty well right there. Did pretty well. It took about 3 minutes. You can go over time. I didn't want to be that guy that's like, I didn't want to give you... Oh, we rescued survivors, too. Oh, nobody took James Jackson. That sucks for him. He's all by his lonesome in car 2, but if he has a good skill set, that means we can just make him do other stuff until he gets eaten by the fog. Let's see here. Train car 2 with James Jackson. What are you good at? Oh, it's because he's in a different political party. Okay, I can move him over. I think you can force him to move over. If you're in your orders phase, you can force him to move into the other carriage, but it may cause discontent, although I would recommend doing it in this situation because he's fairly close to the line. He's at least on the left side of the... That means he has some reconcilable beliefs with the other people. So since he's on the left side of the pie, they don't have to move him quite as far. Like if he was right here, that means he has to go both up and down. I'm sorry, he has to go down and he has to go left in order to get with them. Right here, all he has to do is go down. So perfect example. I may try to move him over. We are not going to have a lottery today. The scavenging is done. Let's go to here next. It's going to require... We're going to do that at... How long will this take? So it's the 26th right now. That'll take till the 2nd of February. Let's go with medium. I don't want to put too much strain on our resources. It might be smarter to go after that spot right there. Oh, they have a gas station? Yeah, go after that then. We need the gas station. We're going to need more fuel soon. So the fuel supplies will be helpful. And then while they're working on this, that's all nice and done over there. For train car 2, what skills do you have, amigo? He's good at fixing the train. That's not good. That kind of sucks. Okay, well, you gotta do what you gotta do, I guess. They've built the mirrors. We have supplies now. My suggestion would be to use some of these materials during the orders phase tomorrow. We got a bunch of new pips on our map. So we got one... Actually, maybe not. So we've got information on where one of the factions is. They are directly in line with where we're going, which is a big, big problem. This happens pretty frequently. These guys right here are some kind of like rebellion group or something. Basically, they're just marauders. Think of them as raiders. There's the military and there's raiders, and you just got to be careful about it. Research 1 is completed on power. Mirrors have been completed in carriage 1. That's the end of our day. So let's go ahead and sleep it off. Sleep it off. Cause the sleeper's gonna sleep, 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 sleep. And Cthulhu's gonna deep, 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 deep sleep. Oh, nightmare time. What is going on? Huh. Never seen that one before. Where it's just like a bright light. Wonder what that was. Normally there'll be like people trying to get inside the train. My favorite one is for zombies. If you have the nightmare for zombies, it turns all yellow outside with the fog, and then you'll see people running past the train car, and then blood will be like splat on all the windows. It gets pretty gnarly. So there was 4 injuries treated in carriage 1. Predictably, it didn't go well. We were attacked by the shadows. That didn't look too shadowy. That looked like light. Didn't go well. So anybody with a little blood thing on them means they're wounded. But since we have so many medics, they should treat each other perfectly fine. We're definitely going to want to get things going. We're not going to have a lottery today because we're not going to be scavenging. During our orders phase, my suggestion would be that we build more defenses. I would suggest we use the materials almost entirely on shadows. And so we'll use shackles to get those done. Go ahead and get that build order moving. Dreamlogs, they're entirely afraid of shadows now, so it's not too dangerous to use all the materials you have to defend from the shadows. So that's what we're going to do. So there's the defense from the shadows right there. We will more than likely want to move some food supplies over to car 1. Doesn't matter like right now. Honestly, I think our smartest idea during the orders phase is if I can move him over here. You can have 9 people to a car, I think. If I can move... Oh. You gotta go to 2 first. Sorry. I was doing it wrong. So in the notebook, you go to 2. And then you're gonna go to move passengers to 1. You're going to do James Jackson by clicking his little button, and we'll dispatch that so that we don't have to babysit multiple cars. And in so doing, I'm hoping they don't murder him. If they do, it's better than having him wasted by himself in another car. And now I've got 2 people that can fix that thing. Because we have so much chemicals, it's probably a smart idea. We have so many people that can repair to make some chemical defenses too. But let's get somebody started on train upgrades now that the power is gone. I tend to prefer... power. I tend to work on power a lot because power increases the amount of time you can spend in the fog. It increases the amount of battery you have so that you can actually turn the train off while you're scavenging. Not a terrible thing to do. There's a survivor at the pub at Fitzgerald. Is the rebellion group moving around? They are. So we no longer have them on chart. It's going to be a while before we get here, so I'm not going to worry about it for right now. Did you guys finish anything over here? They finished... Oh, they started power 2. They're about 20% of the way through. Perfectly fine. Back to sleep we go. Hopefully we don't get hit again tonight. But that's the basic flow of the game. This game is called Fear Equation. I know this one went a little bit long, but I wanted to show you how the game functions. And unfortunately, it's a very long-winded game that you've got to play for a while before you see the full breadth of combat. From here on in, it's mostly going to be the same thing, rinse and repeat. There's going to be little things that are thrown in to kind of shake you up. But Fear Equation was made by Screwfly, a studio that I very much like. They make very immersive, very unique games, if you can say nothing else about the titles that they produce. And so I thought I'd put this one up on the channel. I've been a long-time Screwfly fan. I look forward to seeing you all in future episodes of Weekly Indie Newcomer. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave lots and lots of comments and lots all that kind of stuff if you want this to be a series, because I do pay attention to that stuff on the Weekly Indie Newcomer episodes. I will see you all in future episodes of Weekly Indie Newcomer, more than likely next weekend. Hi, everybody. I'll see you there.